Many of us cyclists have taken hydration for granted for a long time, and that's certainly the case for me. It's only recently that I became aware of what may have been chronic dehydration on my part. I had ridden my bike 2 days in a row, and then on the evening of the second day, I was sitting on the sofa in the living room. I got up to go into the kitchen, and as I approached the kitchen, I started feeling dizzy, and I thought, well, this will just pass. This will pass. This has happened before. I grabbed onto something to steady myself, thinking that it would pass in just a couple of seconds. The next thing I knew, I was on the floor with my wife standing over me, asking me if I was all right. So I got up, and I realized that it hadn't been a stroke or anything serious like that. And I recalled that earlier in the day I really hadn't urinated very much, and when I had a couple of hours earlier, my urine was dark. So that evening I had a couple of Gatorades, and by the end of the evening I was feeling much better. That episode made me do a lot of thinking about how much hydration I really needed. And I realized that my performance on rides, I was bonking a lot on rides, and it finally dawned on me that hydration was probably the issue. Now, bonking is the situation where you're riding and your legs just start feeling very heavy, and you really have difficulty pedaling, and you count the miles until you get to the trailhead, and it's a very disconcerting feeling. And the extreme of dehydration is that you can't pass out. So I decided to think a lot about, I gave a lot of thought to what my hydration needs were, and I bought a backpack, 2.5 liter backpack that I can use when I ride. And even on local training rides, I'll use the backpack. Because for me, just having 1 or 2 bottles of water on the frame of the bike is not enough. I'm 6 feet 4 inches tall, and I weigh 225. And on a day in the upper 70 degrees Fahrenheit, I will consume between 1 liter and 1.5 liters of water every hour. And that seems like an awful lot, but you really don't realize how much fluids you lose. You know, you sweat, and the sweat evaporates, and you really don't it's really difficult to get a good feeling for how much fluids you are losing by sweating and exercising. The other thing is, during the day now, I drink a lot more water. I think hydration is more than just hydrating yourself and keeping yourself hydrated on a ride. You really need to start a ride hydrated, because it can take 1 or 2 hours for you to achieve a reasonable level of hydration. So now I drink several glasses of water a day, and when I'm on a ride, I always have my backpack. The other thing to avoid, in my opinion, is alcohol. I think if you're going to go on a training ride or if you're on a tour, it's best to avoid alcohol because it is a diuretic. There are other diuretics as well, like caffeine, coffee, but not as serious as alcohol. So when I'm on a tour, I avoid having a beer in the evening, because in my opinion, I'll never recover the lost fluids during the night in time to get back into the saddle the next day. So I know that if you're training also, if you drink several beers the night before a brisk training ride, you may find that your performance is not as good as it could be. So you need to think about that, and your own hydration needs depending on your size and weight, and do some experiments with yourself to figure out what works and what doesn't. Well, hopefully not too much about what doesn't, because that can be unpleasant. So I hope this helps. If you like what you saw, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.